Welcome back, dear friends. 2-week break. Just got back from the Isle of Wight on our annual holiday to the west, never a shredded west. Yeah, the west of the Isle of Wight, where it's quieter, towards the Needles, in a lovely 1980s static caravan on the campsite. So that's nice. Met up with all our old friends and everything, so you had a wonderful time. Her new hobby is holding a tennis ball in her mouth, staring at houseflies in the caravan and just pointing at them for ages until they move, and they're leaping around. What a joy. So it's time to go on with the clock, which I've been looking forward to. If you remember last time, I'd got it all working, and I got it displaying the day, date and month with a real-time clock and my lovely little circuit, sweet little circuit, using a CMOS chip, so that that switches everything on and off, so that the whole thing only uses about, was it 17 microamps? It always switches off. It is uncanny. The carefully prepared video. Yeah, so that's all nice, and then I'm just started thinking about how to get that into the lovely enclosure, and then I decided to make the mounting, design the mounting board, plastic, that I can mount all these different circuits and displays on. So I just randomly, haphazardly ripped everything to pieces. No notes, nothing else at all. Why bother? I knew what I was doing then. 2 weeks later, I have not got a clue. There's a blank piece of paper. So I'm having to go through all the code, the wiring, trying to work out which colours go where, which can be commoned up, what connections I'd used on the Mega. What a fool I've been. Well, I just started doing this because I need to solder a little bit of extra, or join an extra bit of Veriboard on either side to common all these common things up. I think I'm working it out, but let's stop talking, get on with it. And I've also started thinking about the design. I've drawn the overall shape of the clock into 2D Design, the highly advanced CAD system that I like to use. For my highly advanced brain, it's all it can cope with. And I've coloured it just to give me an idea, so I can design the dial and get some other bits and pieces, features sorted out. Because I think I'm erring on the side of a couple of viewers, thank you very much for your suggestions, to go with brown. It's Bakelite. I just love Bakelite. And Art Deco brown, because lots of it was wood, and anyway, but with some possible gold trim like the clock we've got in the lounge. Anyway, once I've drawn that on, I can fiddle and fart around, so that'll be nice. That's what I'm talking about. I've figured out the connections and the numbers, and I've added those 2 bits of Veriboard on. Look, lots and lots of header pins, connectors for all the paralleled up connections for the e-paper, same colours. Oh, lovely. Right, now I can draw that on the CAD with the mounting holes, and then work out where to fix that on this 3mm back panel. Worked out, decided where I'm going to put the Mega, real-time clock, my control adjust button things, and this middle bit will go somewhere here, so that all the wires from each of the pieces of e-paper. So the next thing is to get that cut out on the laser cutter. So there's my design, and I don't know what's happening here. It's going through the motions, but it's not cutting anything out. Oh dear. The thing is, the motors, the power supply is working and the software and everything else, because it moves round and follows where it's meant to cut. Well, that's a nice treat to come home to. It really doesn't seem to work. What I'm trying at the moment is to move things around a little bit. I've seen under there for years. There's the water tank for the cooling water. I know there's a flow switch that switches off the flow of the laser if there's not enough sufficient flow. There's also a little safety magnetic interlock switch there, which I'm just going to try. So at the moment it's open circuit. Just things right, so that's okay. That goes short circuit when the lid's closed. It's not that. And also, in addition, things that I've never noticed or bothered looking at, there's an indicator light called laser indicator. Well, there's power, that's all right. Laser indicator. When I press the laser, that should flash. Nothing. So something is stopping the laser tube from working. The fact that that must be connected to the drivers that drive the laser, it suggests that it might not be a problem with the laser tube. I hope not. Something else, some sort of interlock safety thing. I think there's nothing else for it, dear friends. I'm going to have to withdraw that into the room, which is exciting because I'll finally be able to show you the laser tube in the back that I've been able to get to for years, and I'll be able to change the water that they recommend you change monthly. Yes. I'd forgotten I'd got one of these. I found it in the park. Do you know what it is under all that filth? Far cleaner where it was originally used. It's a London Underground insulator for the centre powered rail. As I say, it was lying in the park. There is a railway track through the park, but it was on the wrong side of the fence. How lovely. I do love insulators, ceramic insulators. They're beautiful. While we're on the topic of exciting insulators, here's one I found in a field, lying in a field in North Wales. Isn't that lovely? I've unscrewed the big post, but this is one of the sort of high tension line insulators. They look so small when they're up in the air on top of poles, but they're really quite big and beautiful as well. They also make a very nice candle holder. Thank you. There's the laser tube, which looks all very dry. Here's the water tank, and look, it's meant to be water pouring out there. Thank goodness for that flow switch. It's dripping out, but I think I now know what to investigate anyway. Working in the dark, as always, I've discovered, well, I've got the pump running, so that's pumping water into the inlet. That goes straight to the flow sensor, and I've just disconnected that from the pipe that goes to the laser tube, and I've got that coming back to here, and oh, there's virtually nothing happening at all. So I think it's got to be a blockage in that flow thing, which is interesting. I'm very pleased that it is that, because I really didn't want to start disturbing these pipes that are attached to the laser tube, because obviously it's all lined up nicely, and I don't want to start tugging around with it. I was interested to see either the anode or the cathode, I'm not sure which, was connected with a crocodile clip with a bit of wire sticking out. The high voltage, that must be ground actually, I think, because the high voltage wire goes through another piece of the plastic tubing and ends up at that end. So, how ironic, well, I don't know whether irony is the right word, but the thing that is stopping the laser tube working because of a lack of flow of water is causing the lack of a flow of water. I think that's irony. I'll get that disconnected and take it to pieces. This will be very exciting if I can get it working. Let's just make an Art Deco clock. No, it's the first of all e-paper. Now, let's laser cutter flow things, flow sensors. By the look of it, and I haven't ever used one of these before, there's one of those magnetic switches, reed switch on the surface enclosed in that. So I assume inside there's got to be some sort of magnet that can be lifted up or whatever as the flow of liquid goes through, and then drops back down against a spring possibly, or with the help of a spring. I'm going to unscrew the ends and hopefully have a better look inside. I don't know whether you can see that, but there's certainly some cloggage down in there. I don't know what it is, but it's getting stuck, and I assume that's making it all stick. I don't know how to disassemble this. I had to show you this. I've just come upstairs to the bedroom. 100% limescale remover by Harpic, no affiliation. And I've just dripped a load in the top, and look, lots and lots of what I assume is carbon dioxide and blue stuff coming out the bottom. Right, I'll go and sit on my loo, read my book a little bit. We'll come back and see what's happened. Well, that's now free to wobble, so that's nice, and that whole thing gets plunged in. I've run out of hands though to show you. So I just want to pour some more of that because it started pouring through the limescale remover, and I just wanted to seal this, sit this in something. And I thought, I know, I can make a solid washer from for the bottom out of, and I always remember my wife saying, why on earth are you going to keep that? What on earth are you going to use it for? An old wheelbarrow tyre in a tube. Lovely thick rubber. As you can see, I've used it for all sorts of things. I think I even used it to make 2 new centre drive belts for the pulleys for the bandsaw when they broke. Oh, the times we've had together. 1,000 uses around the home. Right, so I can now screw that up underneath and then fill it with the magic blue stuff again, just to make sure it is properly clean. Well, that's good. I'm pleased I did that, because look, there's lots and lots more bubbles forming. This has been a very useful exercise, because there were lots of stuff growing inside here. I naively thought that being zapped by laser radiation would stop anything growing, but it hasn't. I mean, it's taken 10 years. I think I've had it for 10 years, the laser cutter. So I flushed it through with some more of that limescale remover, left it in the pipe while it fizzed, and then I've rolled it around, got it all nice and clean. I cut it off the laser tube in the end very carefully by slitting it with a scalpel, so I didn't put too much force on the laser tube. Now, however, I have to put force to get the rubber tube back on. Fingers crossed. So that's that pipe refitted to the end of the flow thing, sensor, and then I've managed to push that back onto the laser tube, hopefully without moving it too much. This other tube, the second one, it just fits on behind there. I don't want to risk it, so what I'll do is to get the pump working and then just squeeze that around while it drains into a bucket. That worked a treat. So it's all nice and clear now, and it's just the pump's just pumping it into the bucket instead. Time to just switch the pump on and check that it's all flowing freely. Look, there are air bubbles travelling along it. And I remember reading in the instructions that if you haven't used it for a while, let it run for 5 minutes before trying to cut anything, so all the air bubbles get out. I thought the outer tube would be filled with water, but it's actually the inner one. I suppose the outer one is just to protect you against high voltages, although there's some sort of clever twiddly thing there. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it's all very exciting. I just had to take this last plate off to see what's inside. There's the high voltage generator. I don't know how many volts it works at, but it's most interesting. There's lots of water very close to lots of electricity. It's the next day and there are lots of whirring sounds. I've got the water container, cooling water, connected up. I've cleaned, good heavens, I hear you cry, cleaned the extractor fan, then plugged it in and filled the room with dust. What an idiot. Because I thought, I wonder which way round it turns so I know which pipe to connect where. So I switched it on and all the loose dust. Yes. And now look, I've lowered the bed of the machine. And you can see the mechanism because it said to oil it, which I have, needless to say, not done ever. So underneath there are 4 lead screws and bearings at the bottom and a timing belt to a stepper motor. So if I can locate the right button, I'll show you what it does. Look, it turns all 4 lead screws, so this bit goes down. Now that's very useful, and it's one of the nice features of this laser cutter because it means obviously that doesn't go up and down at all. That the focus just has to remain constant between that and the surface of the work that you're cutting. So this way you could put really big chunks of wood and whatever in there. But it means that as well as hoovering all around here, sprinkling in the middle of summer, I can get oil onto those. So now I can raise the whole lot up. For some very strange reason, as with a lot of things with the software for this laser cutter, it's very odd. If you hold down the button, it plays that strange tune. You can't just keep your button, your finger held down. Anyway, I'll get that up and that should nicely lubricate everything. That's better. Let's add a tripod. So I'm still going up. So that's nice. So I'm preparing to test this. I'm trying all my arms. Here's the little thing, the focusing jig, I suppose you'd call it. That'll do for this test. I just want to see whether it fires. Right, moment of truth. Okay, I'm going to press the laser test button. Yes! Oh, joy! Oh, lovely. That means this isn't all a complete waste of time. Fantastic. So it was that flow sensor. So what I'll do now is to connect the vacuum thing up, the extractor and the air blower thing, and leave the laser in the middle of the room so I can try and cut out that thing that this started with, the wretched Art Deco electronic mounting 3mm acrylic board, and we can have a look at the laser working, which is most exciting. I've uploaded the drawing, so that's the size it's going to take. I'm going to shut the lid, and then we'll go around the back, and I'll try and reach over and press the start button whilst watching the laser tube, which I have been assured, by the way, is safe to do. So start there. So that's what a laser tube looks like. The plasma or whatever it is tucks around at that end. That's interesting, isn't it? Must be towards the, or from the positive, the anode, and it shoots along here, and then out at the end, and there's the first of the mirrors, you get the laser beam shooting out and then going at right angles over the thing to cut everything. Let's see if it's cutting everything. Oh, Cantona, look! It's cutting everything. It's engraved that, and it looks like it is actually cutting through. Right, it's cutting around the whole outside, because I wasn't sure, with me fiddling and farting about with the rubber pipes on the laser tube, whether I had moved it out of alignment, because obviously it comes out of the Earl back there, bounces off this mirror, which can go that way, and then flies, does light fly? Don't think so. It goes into the mirror that turns at the right angles again, downwards. But by the look of it, that is working perfectly. Oh, I'm very pleased, because now I know that this works. Nice laser cutter. It's worth me cleaning all this crap off the top that's been here for ages, and indeed this window, which is actually meant theoretically to be transparent. It's been a long time, so we'll get that done, and all the filth and the grime, that'd be lovely. I'll also put some light oil, and I do hasten to add, I do this regularly, some light oil on the runners and things that move this bit, and there we have it. Right, I've managed to talk throughout the cutting process. Have we got something? We have, look. Oh dear friends, we have a piece of 3mm acrylic with lots and lots of holes cut in it, which you can't see. Right, I will get on with all this and then get back to you when I have something more intelligent to show you, hopefully. I have mounted everything on the plastic and wired it up, and it doesn't work, and I don't know why. So I'm now going to use my probes to check voltages and things. So close yet so far. Nothing is simple about this project. I started disconnecting things just to check whether this circuit works, but I checked on the current that the battery was sending into the circuit, and then I realised that I think I've blown a fuse in my multimeter, so I took that apart, and then I got the fuse tester, and that didn't work. You couldn't make it up. I took the battery out inside the battery tester, and that does look decidedly the worse for wear. So I've got a new battery in there, so I can test the half-amp fuse, which is somewhere. Then I can put that back in the multimeter. Then I can do, but the logic is working. It's switching things on. The mega's coming on and off. But obviously there's a fault somewhere, some short circuit that I've accidentally introduced. Oh, what a pain. Right, let's get that working first. New battery installed. Now if I use a piece of wire that I prepared earlier, look. Ah, lovely. Now where have I lost the fuse? Oh, after some scrabbling around, I found it now, I believe. Ah, so there was a fault that drew so much current when set on milliamps that it blew my multimeter fuse. let's hope I've got another half amp one. And whilst I've got my multimeter open, there's the big shunt resistor that I've talked about before. So when you've got it on 10 amps, most of the 10 amps goes through there, and there'll be a little tap off somewhere to actually take the reading from. At least there's lots of other interesting things to be involved with in the pursuit of this project. So I've now got a working multimeter, I've now got a working battery tester, I think, and I've now hopefully found another battery. Let's check that. Oh yes, a ripe battery. So now let's get back to testing this. This is interesting because everything's working when I've got all the supplies to the different bits and pieces connected to the 5 volts out, or regulated 5 volt out from the Mega, until I connect this wire, and this wire goes over to the shared bits for the displays and stuff. There's got to be a short circuit somewhere, because when I connected that and did the same thing, the current draw, and thankfully I had it on amps, went right up. Right, let's do some delving. Oh, now dear friends, I've been looking at this, me bus bars or whatever, to common up all the display things, and I reckon there may be a little bridge between the plus 5 volts and 0 volts. Right, let's take this apart and try and correct it. So I've got it all wired up, and then it didn't work, and then I noticed I desoldered one of the connections to the e-paper displays. Would you Adam and Eve it? Let's take it all apart again. Thank the Lord, finally it's working. It goes into programming mode. Then hopefully if I press that button, it's looking hopeful. Now I haven't had this running since before I went on holiday. It is Thursday. That's exciting. I'm on the edge of my seat here, even though I'm standing up. The 14th, I don't know whether it is, but I'm going to guess that's right. And it is August. Oh, dear friends, I can't tell you how happy that makes me, as that's the conclusion of about 6 weeks' work just to display the day data month, as you know if you've watched this series. So finally we can move on, because the next part of the project is to put that into there and hope that everything lines up. But that's a problem for another day. Look, chocolate brown satin spray paint. I think that's what I'm going to go for, but I've got to do some more work on the dial design and other bits and pieces and little gold trim and stuff. Most exciting. Look, I've got the wiring tidied up, and I'm very pleased to say it still works. In fact, I thought out of interest I would work out how long it would run off one of these little 9 volt batteries. It is drawing, what is it drawing, microamps? 49 microamps in rest mode. So I've written that down, and the battery apparently I've looked up, is very difficult to find the amp hours for one of these batteries. It seems to be very secret. But roughly 550 milliamp hours, that means it'll run something drawing just over an amp for an hour before running flat. And I've worked out that it takes 90 milliamps at 20 seconds to actually write the day, date and month, so that each day 20 seconds will be taken up at that current. So I'm going to try and work out how long this battery will last. Give me a moment. Following some very dubious maths, I really don't know what I'm doing. I think it's going to last about 413 days. Thanks very much for watching. I'm so pleased to have finally reached this part of the project. Oh, and I always forget, do remember please to click like and subscribe and stuff, and I'll put the links to my website and Etsy shop in the description, because I always forget to do that. I get carried away. Thanks again.